Hello, it's Lisa from the future. You're gonna notice that there's like this weird like bar up and down, and probably something either right there or right there from some website watermark. Because in the middle, or not even in the middle, but like almost at the end of reading this story, my phone was like, no, we're not going to make a video longer than, I think it was like 41 minutes and 17 seconds. Or, I mean, it was a ridiculous number. And it didn't like stop recording. It just stopped that video and then immediately started a new one. And so you won't find a break in the video, which was my worry. But, you know, I had to use some third-party software to glue it all together. And now my video looks all weird because I wasn't willing to pay for the software to get all the crap removed. So, yeah. So that's a thing now that I can do. I'm so excited. Anyway, so yeah, it looks weird, but it's because the video did something really stupid. So anyway, here's the video. Bye! Hello! Welcome back to Drunk Storytime with Quefish. I'm Quefish. It's been a hot minute since I did some recording. Gosh, kind of a lot's happened since then. But I can do some recording tonight. I'm very excited. I'm going to start with this because I don't know what it is. I saw it in like a liquor store, I'm assuming. And it was just like this little ornament looking thing. And it's called a buzz ball. The Grapeness. So it does smell very grapey. And very vodka-y. I'm not a vodka fan. If it's like mixed in with like 7 other things, I can handle it, but I'm not a vodka person. So I'm gonna have to mix this with like some grape soda. With some grape soda. So, be right back. So that about doubled my my grape soda volume. I may have spilled a bit. Much better. So anyway, the last video that I did was by IneffableAlien, and it is a Magnus archive of his own. We got through chapters 1 through 7 out of 12, I think. So we're gonna do the last 4. And so again, I'm not in the fandom. I can appreciate the fandom. So if you're watching and you are a Magnus person, I'm probably getting these voices wrong, or like flow, how they flow in their words. But I'm doing my best and I hope you like it. So Magnus Archive of His Own by IneffableAlien. The last thing that happened was Elias and Peter, who don't know that they're talking to each other, just agreed to meet. Would you like to meet? Yes. So, chapter 8. It turned out that Peter's secret, much like Victoria's secret but shorter, was in London, not Scotland. Thank forsaken. They had agreed to meet at a little cafe in Chelsea, and Peter strode unseen through the city as those he passed clung to themselves and rubbed their arms against an inexplicable chill. A few people commented on how suddenly the sun had disappeared behind heavy gray storm clouds, and a thick fog curling up through the pavement left icy dew on their jackets and noses. Peter Lucas felt great. Guess he feeds on that? That wasn't to say he suffered no trepidation. His blood thrummed in his ears, and he wondered if he was having a midlife crisis. And if it turned out to be something more substantial than that, then what did that mean for his health? Rejecting the lonely for love had literally killed at least one family member in recent memory. Heart problems indeed. It wasn't that Lucases couldn't marry. Marriage was actually part and parcel of their worship, stressing only the most alienating aspects of biological family structures. But deep down, Peter knew he was no average Lucas, and he would be a poor fit for a proper Lucas-style coupling. Peter wasn't built to pick out some tight-lipped outsider to dispassionately make more Lucases until she eventually got bored of being lonely and divorced him. Or didn't. What was it Elias had said? That Peter was a disaster at being lonely? Peter growled to himself in a low tone. He could not think about Elias right now. Except... oh, God. Peter stood outside the cafe, face drained whiter than usual, and gaped through the large shop front window. Elias Bouchard, nay, informally, Elias Bouchard Lucas, although it was Lucas Bouchard if you asked Peter, nay, Elias Bouchard, nay, James Wright, the awful little man himself, was seated in a corner far in the back by the counter, sipping a coffee that Peter knew was black. He was drinking from a mug, which Peter noticed instantly, because he knew that when Elias went somewhere to sit down and grab a coffee, that he would ask them to put it in a mug instead of a takeaway cup, because he was just that brand of pain in the ass, and he insisted that with a disposable cup, he could taste the cardboard. And Peter told him how crazy that was, but he never listened. I taste cardboard. I'm on your side, dude. Peter definitely hated him. He scrubbed his face with his hands. He was beginning to panic. Peter had a date at this cafe with a 5'6" researcher who had a questionable writer's hard-on for historical figure Jonah Magnus and his cronies. Peter could not believe how he had never stopped to consider how odd that was for anyone unknowledgeable about the fears. They were not a phenomenally famous group outside of the most esoteric circles. Especially that Dr. Fanshawe, which I still almost said Fishwave. Who even was that guy? He was no avatar Peter had ever heard of. What made him so great? Elias Bouchard was here, at this cafe. It was devastating, obviously. But Peter had to face the fact that this could only mean one thing. Peter would have to reschedule his date. Or Peter would have to contact his date and try to convince him to move it far away, or maybe even reschedule. Tragically, before those puzzle pieces could completely snap together in Peter's mind, Elias caught Peter looking at him, sat up straight like an exceptionally tiny rod, and looked back. Peter hissed and swayed on his feet. Damn it, why did Elias always have to look so hard? Regardless, the point was, Peter was compelled to drop in and buy a coffee now, if only to explain away why he was so far from home, and apparently stalking the head of the Magnus Institute, who also happened to be his ex-husband. He walked into the cafe and made a beeline for the counter, which of course was practically on top of Elias's table, because of course Elias would sit where he could watch everyone in line up close and make them uncomfortable. "Oh, Elias," Peter started lamely. "Fancy seeing you here." Elias glared. He must have had something on his mind, because he didn't typically bristle at the mere sight of Peter so immediately. "As one would expect so near the Institute," he pointed out. "Why are you here?" "Meeting a friend?" Peter offered pathetically. "You don't have friends, by definition," Elias said. "Why are you—" Elias stopped himself and inhaled deeply, as if he were counting backwards from 10. "You're not going to dig around inside my head?" Peter asked. He was surprised to hear how fragile that sounded. "You don't even care enough to look?" was the unspoken question. Elias looked away, like it was taking every ounce of restraint in his body to keep his mouth closed. He sucked in his lips. He forced out. "Hello," sang the barista in that shining moment. "What can I get for you?" "Pumpkin spice, hot, please," Peter mumbled. Then he paid for his drink, shook his head at Elias with a bewildered expression, and left in a daze. A chat between secret Scotsman and solitaire at sea. "Apologies, but I have to reschedule. Something came up." "Are you okay?" "Yes. In truth, I'm a bit rattled. Would you be understanding were I to say I'd rather discuss it at a future point in time?" "Yes, of course." "Confession, I'm having a pretty unlucky day too. So I promise I don't mind, because I was already questioning if we should meet." "I see. Saying sorry and please are far from strong points for me, so I hope you will comprehend the weight of it when I say, I'm sorry, and please give me another chance to meet." "Oh, I'm so sorry. That's not how I meant it. I just meant we should meet today." "Oh, I'm so glad." "Oh, wow. I swear I'm not picking on you, but that was way more vulnerable than your usual vibes." "That was sweet." Smile. "How dare you? I am not sweet. Lol. But I do know when a thing is worth wanting." Smile. Chapter 9. Continued conversation. "I had a thought." "I am listening." "Who taught you that?" There was a little emoji of an ear in there. "No matter. We are busy adults. Am I right in saying that it could be some time before we are free to try to meet again?" "I will always try to be free when you are, but unfortunately that may be the case, yes." "I am thinking in the meantime." Evidently it is my turn now to be skittish and hoping for something. "It is something with the inclination to turn intimate in nature, and I would very much be desiring that it does." I was already listening, but now I am looking. Respectfully, as the kids say. "Stop that right now." "Lamau. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just so easy to imagine how cute you must be when you get flustered." "You might not have to imagine for long. What I'm trying to suggest is that we get on camera." "Oh." would be amazing. I might not know how to do it. I've never FaceTimed. Ugh, Apple. No, it can be done right here. Then absolutely. But you do realize my mind is already in the gutter, right? There's just something really hot about that. Good. I enjoy being seen. Exhibitionist. Voyeur. But they're really one and the same, you know. The thrill of each stems from the fear of exposure. How is the voyeur exposed? Because the truth of who they are is bound to come out eventually. Does it bother you to hear I'm into this? Let's see. My little fun-sized twink wants to put on a show for me. Yes, it bothers me very much. My life is a tragedy. Damn it all. How could I have fallen upon such hard times? Lol, no, it does not bother me. Lol, you do know twink implies young, yes? Wait, you just called me fun size. It was a compliment, I promise. You also called me your fun-sized twink. Oh, I freaked you out. Far from it. I am weak for a man who uses words like mine under certain circumstances. It corresponds with that wanting to be exposed. To be possessed is to be beheld as a passive vessel, and to be passive is to make a game of placing one's trust in another. And because true trust can never exist between two people, to play that game is to tremble in terror before the one you pretend to trust. Damn, dude, stop. To embrace the possibility that they might dip into your insecurities, shine a light on every secret. But again, the other side of that coin contradicts itself, because ultimately you are docile, allowing another to rule you, albeit temporarily. And that means, for a single night or even an hour, not feeling the need to be the king or the smartest one in the room for once. To turn it all off. To say, own me, make me yours. Let me exist as nothing but a series of holes to be filled and skin to be watched. Fuck, that's hot. Oh, we could get on cam right now, you know. I love it. Please, right now. Oh, don't be silly. I've already applied my face cream for the night. Shall we revisit this subject tomorrow? Did he do it while he was saying all that sexy stuff? Oh, God. Chapter 10. Elias adjusted his laptop facing his bed for the 17th time. He was trying to determine what would be the most flattering angle for when he got in front of it. There were several reasons for Elias's nervous energy, not just those one might expect. It had been a long time since Elias had offered himself up to the eye, a sort of masochistic sacrifice, to writhe under its oppressive gaze and wallow in perfect terror. But this was exactly the right situation for it. Elias had already gone this long without seeing Solitaire. That's the other dude. He could survive another 45 minutes or so, letting himself be visually devoured until he was delirious with the need to open his eyes. Capital E, eyes. And after laying the last shred of his dignity at the foot of the Watcher, he would let himself look upon his lover who had witnessed him first, and the excruciating rush would put any human orgasm to shame. Basically, Elias was edging, but with beholding. The blindfold set to the side was useless. The only thing that could prevent Elias from seeing right now was Elias. The silk scarf was one part aesthetic, one part symbolic, and one part disguising himself as human. Plus, it felt nice on his skin. Elias stripped. Then he heard the little bloop doop. It would have been perfect timing if one of those had come in, like right there, of a Discord message, and dragged his fingers through his hair all the way down to the nape. Hey, you. Elias bit back a smile before he replied. Hi. Was that a shy hi from you, Wink? Look, I know you know this, but I feel like I should say it. This idea of yours is insanely sexy, but I will understand if you decide you don't want to do it. I never want you to do anything you don't want to do. Elias dropped his cheek in one hand, looking fond. I assure you, I'd never do anything I didn't want to do. Okay, good. In that case, God, I can't wait to see you. Now that I got that out of the way, please now. And if you don't like what you see, I would gamble good money that you're gorgeous, but you're going to drive me wild no matter what you look like. I already like you this much, just from talking to you. Elias shook his head, unable to prevent the smile from forming. And how much is this much? When we're not messaging, I'm thinking about the next time we can be messaging. Because all day long I see interesting things or laugh at stupid people, and I can't wait to tell you about it. Anytime a song comes on that one of your fic titles is from, I have to stop and listen to it. I get excited every time I hear that dumb Discord sound. Same. I like your quirky, formal way of talking. I like that your humor is so smart that you could probably insult someone to their face and I'd notice, just because I know you, but they never would. I like how every time you write something new, it's because you need to bleed out your emotions somewhere, but you think that you're being subtle about having feelings. Like you want to think you're this inhuman robot, but it's actually so easy to either get under your skin or make you swoon from a few compliments. And you have no idea how endearing that is because it's raw and real. I like how you notice everything. Oh, and I like how you're the perfect fun size. Lol. Should I keep going? Oh. My. I wasn't expecting all that. It is rare that I find I don't know what to say. Thank you. That's all you have to say. Okay. Here's what I want. I'm going to start a call in a few minutes. You're going to see a little movie camera icon, but I don't want you to click it right away. You're going to give me a minute to put on the blindfold and get situated. And I don't want you to speak right away. I want to put in as many roadblocks to figuring out who you are as possible. That's not in the story. Just let me show you. Can you do that for me? God, yes. Adult content ahead. Elias walked back toward the bed and lit a few candles on the... Oh, he's a romantic. On the nightstand. He fluffed up some pillows against the headboard that hadn't really needed fluffing, then looked around helplessly for anything else to do. He went back and forth with his Alexa for a while until she finally understood him enough to put on a decent playlist. It turned out that she responded to play sexy jazz, but he didn't really like her tone when she repeated it back to him. And then, last but not least, Elias clicked on his laptop to start a video call, tied on the blindfold, and made himself ready to be seen. This cannot end well. It took all of Peter's willpower not to slam the button to connect to video as soon as the window appeared. He let it ring for a while, as he promised, and joined the call. The video flicked into view, and Peter sat back and brought both of his hands up to his mouth. He saw a candlelit bedroom with a suspicious number of mirrors. Suspicious mirrors. An enormous bed with black sheets, and the well-muscled back of a man kneeling on the bed. The red silk tails of his blindfold hung between his defined shoulder blades, and the silver in his salt and pepper hair caught the light. There was quiet music playing. The man wore no restraints, but his wrists were crossed at the small of his back. He had those back dimples. Peter was a goner. There were a couple of items on the bed in front of the man, which he moved behind himself now. Peter saw that the smaller item was a tube of something, which the man poured into his hand and began to work between... Oh. Okay, but there was no way he was going to fit that. Oh. Peter thought he may be in love. Peter That man could take a watermelon up his ass. He's the one for me. Peter grabbed the glass of whiskey he'd brought and tossed half of it back, then returned the glass with a slight clatter. He ignored the distant alarm bells ringing in the back of his mind when he thought to himself that this man made very cute, very familiar noises. Then he noticed something on the man's skin above his beautiful ass, and Peter leaned in close to the screen and squinted. It's funny how no one ever successfully gets rid of a tattoo. They just end up with a lighter, splotchier version of the tattoo. Peter slammed himself back in his chair and clutched his collar aghast. "You lasered my name off?" he shouted in horror. Then his brain caught up with his mouth. "What the fuck?" Elias screamed. Peter never knew Elias was so spry. He had practically launched himself to the floor from the bed. Peter was sure Elias still had at least one inorganic object inside him somewhere. "What the hell, Peter?" Elias yelled, wrapping himself in a sheet to stand and immediately tripping on it back down to the floor. Me? What the hell, Elias?" Peter had stood and staggered back from the screen at some point. "It's been you messaging me?" "Oh," Elias snarled. "Don't play coy with me, you wretched bastard. I can't believe even you would do this to me." Elias stood and slid on the sheet again, this time catching a votive candle on the nightstand. He kept it from hitting the floor, but hissed when the wax splashed across the back of his hand. I didn't," Peter tried desperately, throwing his arms wide and managing to bang his wrist off a bookshelf. He yelped and shook it out. Elias, I wouldn't. I swear, I had no idea. I swear on Moreland." The last Peter saw of the video feed was Elias hurling an embroidered throw pillow at his own laptop. It said, "Live, laugh, love." But Peter only knew that because he was the one who had given it to him. Oh my God. Chapter 11. Alright, the vodka shit is gone. Thank God. Ugh. The grape soda helped. Anyway, this is all from Solitaire at Sea, obviously. Elias, are you online? Please answer me. Just listen then. I swear on my family name that I had no idea. Even my sense of humor isn't that twisted. Plus, I'm a little afraid of you. Okay, I'm a lot afraid of you. Elias, would you talk to me, please? I know you're not mad because of what I saw on camera. I've seen it all before, after all. You still look great, by the way. Wow. Wait, what point was I trying to make? Oh, yeah. You're hurt because I saw you be soft. But I really didn't know. And I'll respect you closing yourself back off. I'll never even look at your AO3 again. I promise. Even though I really do like your writing. Wait, so did you really do those things with Mordecai? Sorry. Sorry, I know that's none of my business. But I just wanted you to know, and bear in mind that it causes me literal pain to admit this, that I meant everything I said. Good God, I'm gonna have to throw an entire orphanage into the lonely to make up for this. I liked being honest with you. And I liked the you I saw. And I'm... Lots of little dots as he types. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. If I'm lying, then I may have to stand in one of those queues at the airport where you're roped in tight with everyone. If I'm lying, send me to America, to Disney World, during the on-season. Being an annual pass holder, oh my God. Don't do that to him, man. May I be struck down with an Uber driver who wants to make conversation. Or take the tundra away from me. That's how sorry I am. New story by Secret Scotsman 1818. Turn a different corner and we never would have met. Mature. MM. Jonah Magnus fandom. Mordecai Lucas. RPF. Mordecai Lucas and Jonah Magnus. Mordecai Lucas, Jonah Magnus. 5+1 things. Loneliness, denial of feelings, feelings realization. AU canon divergence. 5 times Jonah swore he wanted nothing more to do with Mordecai. And 1 time he didn't lie. In box 0. No comments. Chapter 12. And that's where we left off, said Peter, spinning the cardboard sleeve around his coffee cup. His drink wasn't even hot anymore, but the pumpkin still smelled nice. Across the cafe table, Simon Fairchild grinned like a hatchet wound. What would that look like? And this situation with your friend has you so out of sorts, he said, that you, Peter Lucas, had to reach out to someone? Peter pinched the bridge of his nose. Maybe I really am having a midlife crisis, he muttered. Well, first of all, this friend is Elias, so you can drop that pretense, said Simon, not unkindly as he kicked back and crossed his arms. I can even understand it a little. No, really. He always did have an eye for picking out attractive bodies. Peter tilted his head back to stare at the ceiling and groaned. Oh, you only wish you'd thought to say it first, said Simon. So, he went on, did you want my advice? Peter dropped his chin and shuffled up from slouching. Did you actually want to be helpful? Yes, said Simon gleefully, because you're going to hate it. Peter sighed. Lay it on me, he said. Simon held up his hands, pitching an imaginary movie. You need to go to him, he said, and you need to make a grand gesture. Peter stood up, knocking his chair back. Well, this has been predictably a waste of my time. He said, starting to swivel away. Wait! Simon exclaimed, lunging partway across the table. Hear me out! Peter stared at the exit for a moment, then slid back into his seat. You have 30 seconds, he said. I don't even need that much time, Simon insisted. Look, I'm not going to try to lie to you. Obviously, I find this all hilarious. Because it is. But when you do what I'm about to say, you're going to be so alone in a crowd, and Elias is going to be razed to the bone by everyone staring. Peter furrowed his brow in thought. You're suggesting I humiliate myself. Because of course you are. But in a way that actually gluts our respective patrons? Simon's smile stretched out every wrinkle on his geriatric face. What could possibly be more romantic than dinner and a show? Come in, Martin, Elias sighed, not bothering to look up from aimlessly clicking back and forth between various social media that had not updated. Sorry to interrupt, said Martin, opening the door. Martin bit his lip before continuing, taking in Elias's hungover appearance. Oh, wow, he said quietly. I'd say I could come back, but I think you probably need to know about this. Elias finally met Martin's eyes and tried to look down to business. Yes, Martin? It's just, well, Martin grimaced. Peter Lucas is here. The corner of Elias's mouth tugged in a tick, betraying any stoicism he might have otherwise portrayed. How unexpected, he said flatly, reaching for his intercom. Rosie failed to pass along the news to me. No, said Martin, fidgeting with his fingertips. He isn't in the lobby. Elias sat back. Oh? He's, Martin started, grasping for the proper word choice. Well, he's outside the Institute. Yes. He's standing outside the Institute. I believe we covered that. And he's doing the, Martin winced. He's doing the boombox thing. Elias opened his mouth, more confused than he remembered being in about a lifetime. The boombox thing? He repeated, with a head shake to indicate his cluelessness. You know, said Martin, pantomiming above his head uselessly. The boombox thing. Elias looked outside. Elias immediately slammed his eyes shut. Elias looked again. Elias came back to his office. He had decided, was hoping, there must be something wrong with his sight. Martin, he said, drawing out the name and realizing he could scarcely hear himself over his own heart pounding. What does the boombox thing mean exactly? Martin jumped when the door flung open wide and Tim Stoker ran inside the office. Oh my God, he said excitedly. Are you seeing this? Peter freaking Lucas is outside doing the boombox thing. What is the boombox thing? Elias shouted, panic rising like bile. Peter Lucas was doing the boombox thing. Elias ran out front, then swung around outside the entrance to the Institute because he was being followed by an entire archive crew. "What are you all?" he started. "All of you, go back to the archives." "Oh, nuh-uh," said Sasha. "Not on your life." Peter was standing on the pavement facing the Institute with a stony expression, and he was holding a boombox turned up to full blast over his head. It was playing "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You." It was the 1993 version. "It's supposed to be Peter Gabriel," Tim shouted helpfully, hands cupped over his mouth. "No," said Elias dumbly. He was speaking as if only to himself, 1,000-yard stare in his eyes. "Like a river flows surely to the sea." He gripped his hair, looking manic. "My coffee shop, you." Tim did a double take seconds before Elias ran down the steps to Peter. "Your he wheezed, ugly truth dawning on him. "Your coffee." "Oh no." Tim blanched. "Oh no." I'm guessing he reads them too. "Peter," Elias panted as he reached him. "What on earth do you think you're—" "Stop!" Elias hopped up and down, swatting at the boombox in a not even close bid to hit one of its buttons. Peter quickly turned the volume almost off and set the boombox down. Before Elias could take a swing at him, he wrapped his arms around him and shushed gently into his hair. Elias's heart was rabbiting around his ribcage, and Peter held him still until the horror retreated somewhat. Then he backed off him entirely, leaving space between them. Elias looked like he might have been sobbing into Peter's chest, but he tried to pull himself together now. "Peter," he choked, "why are you doing this to me?" "I'm not," Peter said in a pleading tone. "I'm trying to make it up to you." Elias shakily smoothed back his hair. "But I've never been more mortified in my life," he gasped. "Yeah," said Peter, chuckling nervously. "You've never been so exposed." Elias stared. "Was it good for you?" Peter prompted. Elias paused, setting his disgust aside so he could focus on the moment. Then he let out a stunned huff. "Great, actually." He looked into Peter's eyes and laughed incredulously. Peter gave a relieved laugh of his own and took Elias by the shoulders. "Elias, listen to me," he started. "I never meant to hurt you, and I meant everything I said. Every day I looked forward to talking to you." Elias opened his mouth to interrupt, probably to say something asinine like, "We weren't technically talking." So Peter barreled ahead. "You made me feel—" Peter was losing steam. "Tell me, Peter," Elias said urgently. I did not say that urgently. But there was no compulsion to it. "No, that's just it," said Peter. "You made me feel. I felt. I had emotions." Elias's brows knit together and he nodded tersely. "I felt things too," he confessed. Peter slid his hands up to Elias's face. "We're monsters," he said simply. "We destroy people to get what we want. And one day, one of us is probably going to lead to the death of the other one. And it won't even be personal." Elias looked tender. "Oh, it will be me who's the death of you," he assured him. "I'm much cleverer than you are." Peter barked out a laugh. "Sure," he acquiesced. He pushed Elias's hair back off his forehead. Anyway, of all the people I'm willing to destroy because of what I am, I want to destroy you the least. Elias turned his head to nuzzle one great big calloused hand. So what I'm trying to say is, if I feel anything at all again, I want it to be with you. Elias pressed his mouth into Peter's hand to hide his smile, then nodded. Just kiss already, Martin called from the steps. Peter and Elias's heads shot up at the same instant that Sasha, Tim, and John turned to gawk at Martin. Well, I mean, said Martin, motioning at the pair. They're hateful old bastards, but it would be sort of poetic, right? I really do hate poetry, John mumbled. Elias's head snapped to look at Peter. His pupils were blown wide. I don't need to be kissed right now, he said breathlessly. I need to be. Right, I know, said Peter. I have not stopped thinking about office, said Elias. Now. Should we wait until we get to your office? I'm sure this elevator has cameras. Oh, beholding. Yes, Peter, talk to me about cameras. Ding. What? No. Oh, God, please. Why? No. Take the stairs, Timothy Stoker. Elias Bouchard was very hoistable. Elias glistened with afterglow in Peter's lap in his office chair. He ghosted his lips over the column of Peter's neck, not quite kissing it. Now what? He asked, sounding a little lost. Well, said Peter, the way I see it, if we're not doing this, then we're fighting. But, he paused, embarrassed. Solitaire at sea and secret Scotsmen don't fight. Elias looked up. What are you implying? What if we just kept doing it? Peter asked. Who says we can't keep doing it? Elias arched an eyebrow. You mean keep having an online relationship? Like as if we don't know who we're talking to? Why not? Peter insisted. We can handle having a relationship on there. We can pass for something like human there. We can't kill each other on there. It's like relationship light. Peter stroked up Elias's back. We do this when we can, but the rest of the time, we just carry on being decent to each other on there as we have been, Elias finished for him wonderingly. Exactly, said Peter. He flashed a sharp-toothed grin. And just think, if you got on cam again, I could be recording it, and I could ruin this institute's reputation even further by exposing your secrets. Elias looked terribly fond. How horrifying, he whispered. That would be terrible. And it must be nastily lonely as well to see your lover and exchange words with them, but never be able to touch them. It is, Peter agreed, resting his chin on Elias's hair. Elias closed his eyes, smiling dreamily for a moment. Then he opened them and said, I'm just about ready for you to get dressed and get out of my office. And don't come bother me until I need to be ravished again. Peter sighed sweetly and kissed the crown of his watcher's head. Anything you say, dear. Oh, God, it's so funny. Like I said, I'm not a part of the Magnus archive fandom, but this was just such a fun story. So I hope you enjoyed it too. And that's it. I don't really have much because I have no basis to yap about. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.